They told you to be good, to play nice, to lower your voice, to fit in, to blend into the background like wallpaper, quiet, polite, unthreatening. And maybe you tried. Maybe you bent your back, broke your spirit, bit your tongue until it bled, just to make yourself smaller, just to be acceptable. But here's the question. What did it get you? Respect? No. Power? Definitely not. A seat at the table? Hell no. The truth is, they don't respect nice. They walk all over it. They ignore it. They forget it even existed, because in this world, niceness is weakness, and weakness is disposable. They don't remember the nice guy. They remember the villain, the one who stopped apologizing, the one who spoke too loud, took up too much space, and broke all the rules. The one who was told, "You can't do that," and replied, "Watch me." That's who they remember. You want to be heard? Stop whispering. You want to be seen? Stop hiding. You want to be respected? Become the villain they can't ignore. And no, I'm not talking about evil. I'm talking about power, about being feared and admired in the same breath, about taking control of your own damn narrative and burning down the script they wrote for you. Because let's be honest, this world doesn't reward obedience. It rewards dominance. It rewards those who create chaos with purpose. The villain is not the enemy. He's the antidote to mediocrity. He's the voice that dares to say, "I refuse to live by your rules." And you've been lied to. Conditioned to think that playing it safe is the path to peace. That if you're quiet, polite, agreeable, you'll be rewarded. But look around. Where has that gotten you? Ignored, overlooked, underpaid, underestimated. It's time to snap the leash, time to drop the mask, time to stop seeking permission and start demanding recognition. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be legendary, and legends aren't made in silence. So this is your awakening. This is the part of the story where the hero gets tired of begging and becomes the villain who takes, not because he's evil, but because he's done waiting, because he realized power is not given, it's taken. And now, it's your turn. Since you were a child, they handed you a mask. Be nice, they said. Be quiet, be sweet, be small. And you, hungry for love, desperate to belong, you put it on. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You apologized for existing. You swallowed your rage, your ambition, your truth, just to be accepted. They taught you that rage was dangerous, ambition was selfish, and truth was too much. They trained you to hide your sharp edges, to dim your fire, to not scare people. But here's the twisted joke. The more you hide your power, the more they control you. The more agreeable you become, the more invisible you are. And one day you wake up, and you don't even recognize yourself. You've been edited, filtered, defanged. Congratulations, you're safe, you're nice, you're forgettable. They made you wear that mask so they could stay comfortable, because your real face, your true self, makes them nervous. Because real power is terrifying, and they fear what they can't tame, so they don't destroy you. They convince you to destroy yourself, with self-doubt, with guilt, with shame. But let me ask you this. When was the last time playing it safe made you feel alive? When was the last time fitting in made you feel powerful? You've been suffocating in silence, choking on approval. That's not living, that's existing. And you weren't born to exist. You were born to disrupt, to create earthquakes with your presence, to leave ashes in your footsteps, to be a walking rebellion. So rip the mask off. Let them see your fire. Let them see the rage behind your smile, the ambition in your eyes, the madness in your laugh. Because the Joker didn't become powerful by being polite. He became powerful the moment he said, "Screw your rules, I'll make my own." That's when the world turned to look, not when he asked for attention, but when he demanded it, when he stopped performing and started becoming. That's what it takes to be unforgettable, to step into your villain era, to own your darkness like a crown, to walk into a room and change the temperature. Not everyone will like it. Good, you're not here to be liked. You're here to be remembered. The moment you stop obeying, the moment you stop apologizing, the moment you stop begging for permission, they panic. Because suddenly, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is the greatest threat to control. You're no longer the puppet, you're the fire, and fire doesn't ask before it burns. See, society is a beautifully constructed lie, a system built to make you believe that if you follow the rules, you'll be safe. If you behave, you'll be rewarded. But what they never tell you is, the game was never meant for you to win. You were born into a rigged deck, a game where the powerful stay powerful by convincing the rest to stay in line. Be humble, be patient, wait your turn. Bull Shasterisk T, your turn won't come. It was never scheduled, you have to take it. They want predictable, you must become the storm. They want obedient, you must become defiant. Do you think legends were made by waiting their turn? Hell no. They interrupted the cycle. They broke the pattern. They shattered the system. And here's the catch. When you finally break out, they'll call you crazy. They'll label you difficult. They'll say you're dangerous. Good. Wear those labels like a crown, because they don't call sheep dangerous. They only say that about wolves. You were never meant to be domesticated. You were built to howl, to hunt, to lead your own damn pack. And I know you've been taught to fear your own power, because if you ever tapped into it, you'd stop playing small. You'd stop asking for crumbs. You'd realize you were born to feast. Let them fear you. Let them whisper behind your back. Let them tremble when they hear your name. Because when you walk into a room with your scars unhidden, your eyes unafraid, and your voice dripping with conviction, you don't need to raise your voice to be loud. You walk with the energy of someone who's burned and survived. Someone who's been broken and rebuilt with steel. Someone who doesn't need validation because they validate themselves. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not your smile, not your politeness, but your refusal to kneel. They fear what they can't own. They fear what they can't silence. They fear you unmasked, unapologetic, unleashed. So don't dim your light for their comfort. Don't shrink to fit their broken mold. You're not here to keep the peace. You're here to change the war. They warned you about being hated. Don't be too loud. Don't be too intense. Don't ruffle feathers. Because being hated meant being wrong. Being hated meant you went too far. Right? Wrong. Being hated is proof that you're doing something real. Because only threats get hate. Only power attracts resistance. You think the Joker lost sleep over being hated? He knew that hate was attention, and attention is power. Because the moment they hate you, they're watching you, talking about you, reacting to you. Haters are the confirmation that you've risen beyond mediocrity. Nobody hates what's irrelevant. Nobody attacks what doesn't threaten them. So let them hate. Let them scream. Let them wish for your fall, because their hatred is fuel. But there's a catch. You've got to be built different. Most people crumble under hate. They retreat. They start explaining themselves. They tone it down. They go back to the cage. You can't do that, because if you want to become the villain they can't ignore, you have to stop needing love from people who can't even love themselves. You have to embrace being misunderstood. You have to enjoy being polarizing, because being liked by everyone means you stand for nothing. You are not here to be vanilla. You're here to be a fire that either warms or burns. And not everyone deserves your warmth. Hate reveals your impact. You're shaking something. You're waking something. You're reminding people of what they're not. And that makes them uncomfortable. They hate what reflects their weakness. They hate what reminds them of their failure. And when you walk with purpose, confidence, and unapologetic intensity, you become a mirror they can't bear to face. Let them look away. Let them gossip. Let them lie. You stay dangerous. You stay focused. You keep building the empire they said you couldn't. The Joker didn't ask to be loved. He demanded to be remembered. And love doesn't make you unforgettable. Fear does. Now I'm not saying go out and create chaos just to feel powerful. No, I'm saying create a life so bold, so disruptive, so on fire, that people have to take a side, that people can't look away. That's villain energy. That's the kind of presence they write about long after you're gone. Not because you were agreeable, but because you were undeniable. Look around you. Everywhere you go, there's a script. How to dress, how to speak, what's acceptable, what's not. They hand you the lines and expect you to perform. And most people do. They read their parts obediently. They smile on cue. They cry on cue. They die on cue. But here's the problem. That script wasn't written for you. It was written to control you, to tame you, to turn you into another forgettable extra in their play. But you were never meant to play someone else's role. You were born to write your own. Or better yet, burn the whole damn script and improvise the chaos. Because true power doesn't come from reading the lines. It comes from throwing the book away and speaking your own truth. Even if your voice shakes, even if they boo, even if they try to silence you. Especially then, you have to become so committed to your own voice that their approval becomes irrelevant. So dangerous in your authenticity that even their silence can't ignore you. That's what the Joker did. He didn't audition. He didn't wait for someone to say, "You're good enough." He took the stage by storm and rewrote the entire story with madness and fire. And maybe your fire won't be made of chaos. Maybe it'll be made of clarity, of purpose, of relentless drive. But make no mistake, it still has to burn. The world has tried to cage your soul with scripts that weren't written by you. They told you what success should look like, what love should feel like, what life should be. But if that script doesn't set your heart on fire, tear it down, line by line, scene by scene. Because when you follow a script that isn't yours, you betray yourself with every step. You shrink, you wither, you rot, beautifully packaged, politely dying inside. But when you write your own script, you come alive. You bleed on the page. You scream with ink. You exist with such defiance that even the shadows turn and stare. And yes, rewriting your life is terrifying. It requires you to question everything, to kill your old self, to bury who you were supposed to be. But that's the price of becoming unforgettable. You don't become a villain by following the rules. You become a villain by setting the rules on fire and dancing in the ashes. You don't need permission. You need courage. Courage to look at the world and say, "I'm not playing your part. I'm writing my own, and I'll be the villain in your story if that's what it takes to be the hero in mine." They told you to aim for the throne, to wait for your crown, to be a king someday. But here's the truth. You don't need a throne. You need a battlefield. Because the throne is just a symbol. It's quiet, polished, ceremonial. It waits for permission. It follows protocol. But you weren't born to sit still and look pretty. You were born to wage war on the lies, on the limits, on the fake smiles and shallow applause. The battlefield is where you come alive, where scars become armor, where rejection becomes rage, where your pain finally makes sense. You don't build power by sitting in a palace. You build it by fighting in the mud, by bleeding with purpose, by screaming until the world listens. Villains don't inherit kingdoms. They take them, piece by piece, word by word, fire by fire. And maybe they call you too much, too intense, too emotional, too dark. Good. Too much for them means just enough for your destiny. You think Joker waited for permission to break the system? No. He looked at the world and said, "This is a joke." Then he laughed his way through the chaos. He didn't ask for change. He became it. And so must you. You weren't made to beg. You weren't made to chase. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to shatter the ceiling, to kick down the doors, to walk into the battlefield uninvited, unbothered, and unstoppable. Because here's what no one tells you. Power isn't earned by approval. It's earned through presence. The kind of presence that can't be ignored. When you walk like every step is a statement. When you speak like silence is a weapon. When you own your flaws like battle scars. You become the villain in their eyes, but the warrior in your own. And that's enough. that's more than enough. You don't need everyone to see you as a hero. You just need to see yourself as someone who refuses to die quiet. So stop chasing thrones. Start building battlefields. Because legends aren't born in castles. They're forged in fire. Everyone fears pain. They run from it, numb it, drown it in distractions, fake smiles, and filtered lives. But here's the twist. Pain is not the curse. It's the blueprint. Every villain has a backstory. Every revolution begins with a scar. Every roar is born from silence that lasted too long. You don't become powerful by avoiding pain. You become powerful by surviving it, by learning its language, by letting it sharpen you, not shatter you. Pain is a message. This world wasn't made for people like you. So what do? You build a new world brick by brick, scar by scar. The Joker wasn't born mad. He was made by betrayal, by abandonment, by a society that laughed at his pain until he learned to laugh back. He didn't crumble. He converted. He took the parts of him that were broken and turned them into a weapon. That's not insanity. That's alchemy. And you've been through hell. You've been rejected, ignored, broken, misunderstood. Good, because that means you've been initiated. You've been tested. You've seen behind the curtain and realized the truth. This world doesn't care about your tears, but you know what it respects. Your fire, your ability to keep going when everything inside you is screaming to stop. Your ability to crawl out of the grave they buried you in and ask for nothing, to rise without applause, to roar without a crowd. That's villain energy. That's real power. And no, it doesn't come with flowers. It comes with scars, with silence, with sleepless nights and burning lungs. But it also comes with something more, identity. Real, unshakable identity. Because when you build yourself out of pain, you don't need validation. You become your own proof. Your scars become your credentials. Your darkness becomes your resume. So stop hiding what hurt you. Start using it. Let it be the blade you forge your name with. Let it be the fire you walk through to light your path. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the pain, it's not your prison. It's your origin story. You've waited long enough. Waited to be seen. Waited to be chosen. Waited for someone to finally say, "You're enough." But here's the truth. They don't want you to know. The crown was never meant to be given. It was meant to be taken, forged, fought for. Nobody's going to walk up to you and hand you greatness. Nobody's going to bow and say, "We've been waiting for you." No, they'll doubt you, mock you, resist you. And that's your cue, not to quit, but to ignite. You see, the greatest villains didn't inherit power. They built it out of rage, out of rejection, out of raw, untamed purpose. They took the pain and made it armor. They took the disrespect and made it fuel. They took the silence and turned it into a scream that shook the world. That's what you're here to do. If the world won't give you a seat at the table, flip the damn table over. If they don't see your worth, make your success so loud it drowns their opinions. If they lock the doors, kick them off the hinges. You don't need permission to become legendary. You need conviction. You need rage refined into focus. You need pain transformed into drive. You were not born to live quietly and die politely. You were born to make history uncomfortable, to leave a mark so deep they either build statues or spit at your name. But either way, they remember you. Because here's the secret. The villain isn't the one who wants destruction for no reason. The villain is the one who finally says, "I will not be ignored anymore." The one who steps into his power without apology. The one who accepts that love might not come, but respect will be forced. So build your crown. Out of iron, out of flame, out of every no they threw at you. Every laugh, every locked door, every betrayal. Melt it all down. Forge something terrifying, something beautiful, something you wear without shame. Because once you wear your scars like jewels, once you stand in your truth like it's armor, you don't need a throne. You become the kingdom. So now, you stand here, not as who they wanted you to be, but as who you were always meant to become, unapologetic, unbothered, unleashed. You face the fire, You've swallowed the silence, you've walked through rejection, and came out made of iron. And now, it's your move. No more waiting, no more begging, no more playing a part in someone else's story. This is your narrative now. And you don't need to be liked. You don't need to be loved. You don't even need to be understood. You need to be remembered. Let them call you villain. Let them misunderstand your fire, your ambition, your intensity. Let them twist your story and paint you as the enemy. Because enemies are powerful. Nobody builds statues for the silent. Nobody writes songs about the ones who played it safe. History belongs to those who disrupted it. And sometimes, disruption wears a smile shaped like vengeance. Sometimes, it laughs like a lunatic. Sometimes, it walks with scars across its chest and fire in its eyes. But it always changes the game. So go ahead, be the storm they never prepared for. Be the truth they didn't want to face. Be the mirror they shattered to avoid seeing themselves. And when they say, "You've gone too far," smile, because that's how you know you finally broke the boundaries that were never real to begin with. Be the villain they write books about. Be the villain they warn their children about. Be the villain who didn't ask for power, but took it. Because in a world that punishes the honest, that shames the strong, that buries the bold, being a villain isn't a failure, it's a rebirth. So stand tall, crown made of scars, eyes full of rage, heart forged in silence, and a soul that no one owns. Let the world scream, let them call you darkness, let them fear you. Good, they should, because you're not here to be accepted, you're here to be inevitable. And long after they forget the names of the obedient, they will remember yours, written in fire, spoken in awe, whispered in fear, etched in the bones of a world you refuse to bow to. This isn't just motivation, it's a war cry, and now that you've heard it, go, become the villain they can't ignore.